everyone. And again, it's Giving Tuesday. And as promised, we're going to go more deeply into one of our very important programs. I know Habitat is mainly known for building homes, but we have a number of other programs. And this one that we're going to be talking about is the whole process of making modifications to homes for senior citizens so that they can remain in their homes. And by doing this, we are increasing the number of affordable homes for seniors. So I already gave you in the earlier section of this program a detailed bio on Alexa Waugh. And just as a little refresher, for those of you who may just be joining us now, she's been an occupational therapist for 13 years, working in many settings with older adults. And she is now the clinical manager for the Safe at Home program that specializes in provision of home modifications for older adults and persons with disabilities in DC. I have a number of questions, but I also want to encourage people to raise their questions in the chat again. So let's start out with just a overview of Home Care Partners' mission and your key programs.
Sure. So the Safe at Home program, which you've mentioned, that I'm the clinical manager of, and we'll talk about a lot today, is one of 3 programs that is housed within Home Care Partners. So Home Care Partners, I believe, has been around since the 1970s, primarily providing their home care aid service. And that is providing seniors in the region, there's Maryland, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, with aids. Not through Medicaid or anything like that, but with an aid service to be able to have an aid in their home to help them be able to stay in their home. We also have the DC Caregivers Institute, which is set up for support of caregivers in the home, caregiving with somebody else. And they provide support services, some respite care, some assistance in getting small products they might need, things like that. And all 3 of the programs, the mission kind of Home Care Partners is enabling vulnerable adults to remain in their own homes. So then that brings us to the Safe at Home program, where we're working primarily in trying to mitigate fall risk for mostly older adults, but folks with disabilities over the age of 18 in the district. And at this moment, Safe at Home is just in DC.
As I mentioned earlier, our service area at Habitat is both DC and Northern Virginia. And our hope is that programs such as yours will be replicated in some of our Northern Virginia communities. But let's dive a little more deeply into the challenges. You mentioned fall prevention, which is crucial, but could you go a little bit more into challenges that older adults face in trying to age in place?
Sure. Speaking to the fall prevention part first, because that is the main guts of our program. So obviously falls happen very frequently in the worldwide, but especially in the United States, impacting people's ability to stay in their homes. And so that is the driving force behind the Safe at Home program, is mitigating those falls. But certainly there are other things that can impact somebody's ability to stay in their home. As you've spoken about previously, pretty significant home repairs. And when somebody's on a fixed income, it can be a lot harder for them to be able to address those home repairs. Accessibility barriers. So stairs in the home, accessible bathrooms, accessible kitchens, things like that can make it a lot more difficult for somebody to be able to complete what we call their activities of daily living. So bathing, dressing, cooking, anything they want to do in their home is an activity that they're trying to do. Can be impacted by not having the right fit of an environment for them as well. And so that can be really challenging. Of course, there's utilities, as you spoke about too, and there's taxes, things like that, the cost that can rise around owning a home as well while you're on a fixed income. And then just adequate support, physical support from people can also impact somebody's ability to stay in their house as well. And so kind of through those programs, Home Care Partners is trying to address some of those major components that might impact somebody's ability to be able to stay in their house.
I know that at Habitat, we actually have an area where we do welding because it's not just, as you mentioned, all of the modifications that are needed within the homes, but sometimes there are modifications to just get into the home. So we do railings and we do many things in close partnership with your organization. And we are very proud to be working with you on all of that.
And through that, yeah, the accessibility in and out of the house is a primary concern for a lot of people, especially in DC where we have lots of small hills with lots of stairs on it. It is definitely a huge barrier for people to be able to be in their home safely and to be able to get out to just go do basic things, going to the grocery store, going to doctor's appointments and things like that. Having railing on the stairs or alternative means of being able to get in and out of the home is very, very important. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. That is absolutely true.
Right. You're also a housing expert in many ways in terms of home preservation. Can you talk a little bit about your work in terms of the larger regional housing crisis and what you see as the impact of assisting senior citizens in staying in their homes?
Sure. So I think Alayna's very well versed at talking about this, but I'll do my best to speak on it a little bit. One of the things we've been seeing a lot, as you've mentioned, the cost of housing is going up. We have been seeing more and more multi-generational homes coming through our program. So we're seeing a mom and her child, both, adult child, both living in the home, or several adult senior siblings, living all in the same home together. So we're seeing a lot more families coming together to live in one home to try and address that. And so that probably is partially as a result of some of the rising cost of living in the area where people are coming together. Oh, perfect timing. Alayna is very well able to talk about this.
Alayna, welcome.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. We're delighted to have you join us. And I gave earlier a little bit of introduction, but I just want to say that Alayna is the program manager of the DC Safe at Home program at Home Care Partners. And she has over 20 years of experience in affordable, supportive housing. And I gave a little deeper bio on you before, so I just want to pose the same question now that you're with us.
Sure.
If you want to expand a little bit on Home Care Partners' general mission.
So just in general, Home Care Partners has been around for decades in the DC area. We're a community-based organization. Our goal is really to make sure that people can age in place in their homes with dignity. So in addition to the Safe at Home program, Alexa may have mentioned this, we also manage DC's Home Care Aid program and a caregiver support program.
Well, we're so proud to be working with you because our missions align very, very well. And we were just talking about not just modifications within homes, but modifications exterior to the home to allow for mobility, not just within the home, but fall prevention in getting in and out of the home. We were just talking about how aging in place is so important in terms of the larger regional housing crisis. Do you want to say a couple words about that?
Yeah, I will just mention, when you look at a lot of the reports that have come out, housing challenges have been one of the biggest reasons for older adults having to go into institutional care or having to go into or becoming homeless, right? Not being able to keep up their homes, not being able to keep up with the repairs, the taxes, the things like that. There was a really great report that came out from the Harvard Joint Center on housing accessibility and housing appropriate fit, which really looked at, across the board from renters to homeowners, the biggest issues facing people in being able to live in their homes and age in place safely as their mobility declines. So that is, it's one of many reports that's out there, but it's clear that housing is really the foundation for people to be able to age in place. You can't get services in your home. You can't get, a consistent home. In DC, we have the house calls program where doctors come to your home. So you can't get things like that if you don't have stable, accessible housing that you can remain in.
Yes, indeed. That is where our missions align again. Homes with dignity and homes that allow you to take advantage of other community resources. So our families that go into our habitat homes, many of the same issues. One of my very favorite quotes is from former HUD Secretary Cisneros, that no problem can be solved without a safe home.
Exactly.
So that is another key way that our models align. You talked a little bit about how old Safe at Home is. What are your future goals, and where do you see the organization going in the future? Because the need is so great.
Yeah.
We have this problem too. The need is so great. How can you make the biggest impact on this important policy issue?
That is a great question. And like you said, it's something that we're all struggling with in this field. So one of the things that we see, the program has been around for about 6 years now. One of the things that we have seen is increased demand. And so we are going through our appropriated funding faster than we ever have before, which then causes a number of challenges in terms of our pipeline. I think that the DC program is really a model for the country. It's one of the most generous programs out there in terms of home modification. You're probably well aware that HUD has started its own grants around home modification throughout the country to look at different ways to assist community-based organizations in doing the same type of work. I think that this program will only continue to grow. I think the benefit of our program, compared to a lot of the other programs that I've seen or the ones that are getting started, is that we have occupational therapists who are trained, not just as occupational therapists, but also in home modification. So they really are able to align with the mission of home care partners and organizations like Habitat for Humanity, making sure that we can, keep people in their homes, but also be mindful and respectful of their autonomy, that's where they want to be in community. And so I think that, in the long term, the program can only grow. I don't know, Alexa probably didn't get a chance to talk to you about the ways that the program has kind of started to expand already in terms of making sure DC Office on Aging has provided additional funding to make sure that we can do balance and strength training to really help people in terms of their mobility, so that they not only work on balance and strength training, but they're also conscious and aware of the falls risk and what that can mean to them as far as being able to stay in their home. So I think that we're going to see, expansion of not just the home modification part, but see these kind of adjacent things added on to see how much of an impact we can make around reducing falls risk.
We at Habitat very much appreciate working with your occupational therapist, because we want everything we do to be exactly what the senior homeowner needs, and to have the therapist come in and analyze essentially diagnose what's needed, and give us very detailed instructions on what needs to be done.
Right.
And then you come back and you check it, which makes us feel even better, because we want to make sure we did it right. So, and your words are very well taken about it's being a national model. We are trying very hard to get the model expanded in our own service area in Northern Virginia. It's got great impact and high demand. Let's talk for a second about the difference between modifications and critical home repair. Habitat does critical home repair, and many Habitat affiliates just do that. We've chosen to really drill down on aging in place, and again, deeply appreciate our partnership with you. But just for our listeners, do you want to explain a little bit about the difference between a modification and a critical home repair?
Sure. So I will say something really quickly and then turn it over to Alexa, because she's actually in the client's homes and can speak to this a little bit more. The history of this program was part of the reason that it developed was because there is a larger home repair program in the district that takes a really long time to get through. And so one of the goals in this program has always been that it operate quickly, that it be very, kind of quick to get the modifications in place for folks. And so, just to bring that in is something that maybe folks might not have recognized, that the idea for Safe at Home is that it works quickly. And so I will, and also that it's a smaller dollar program, right? So we don't have the kind of, allocations for each individual that would cover really significant home repair, right? All of us that have homes know how incredibly expensive those repairs can be. I will turn it over to Alexa and let her talk a little bit about what the OTs see in terms of home repair and how, our program kind of dovetails with keeping them safe until the additional work can be done. Alexa.
Sure. So to build off of that and to clarify a little bit, so what we sometimes see is where maybe somebody needs a wall repair, that it has had an issue with the wall behind the shower or something like that. And that becomes more of a larger issue than what the Safe at Home program can address in a timely manner, like Alayna said, because once you start opening up those bigger repair issues, it can turn into a much, much bigger issue, which could go well beyond what we're able to manage within our budget, as well as in a timely manner. And so that kind of thing is better addressed through some of the other programs that are out there. Whereas our program can focus more on putting a grab bar in the right place for being able to help somebody to get into a shower on maybe a more stable surface, or we're able to do stair lifts, something that's a little bit more surface level, but allows for accessibility through the home. And so while we are aware of those repair issues, our program might not be the best program to be able to address those things, and considering the budget in that. So the big repairs that we often see are ceiling, wall, and floor repairs, and large stair repairs, which are things that we might not always be able to address, whereas we're more able to address grab bars, handrails, stair lifts, and things like that. All of our OTs have been trained not only in occupational therapy, as Alayna has mentioned, but we also have additional training in home modifications. So we've all gone through specific training with that, so that when we come in, we're able to take a look at the client and talk to them about their goals, see what kind of medical things they might be facing, what their potential prognosis might be, and make modifications that are going to be the best fit for that person based off of their individual self and the environment that they're in and what they're trying to do, what their goals are and their priorities are. And in study, there's a lot of literature out there, and the programs that have the most effectiveness in decreasing falls and helping somebody stay in their home pair an occupational therapist in the program, as well as setting up the contractor and being able to help offset some of the financial cost for the modifications themselves. So that is kind of the basis of where Safe at Home came from, and why those components are kind of the most important part there to get the right modifications in the home.
I've heard you talk a bit about your outcome analysis, and I know you have a relationship with American University that is doing quite a bit of impact analysis of your program. And again, we're so proud to be part of all of this. But do you want to talk a little bit about your impact? I know new data is about to come out, but I know you have some data as well.
Sure. I can give some specifics, Alayna, and then if you have
Okay.
other ones to put in there. We've served around 5,000 DC residents so far through the program, or households through the program. Last year, we served 896 clients through Safe at Home. And I don't have that actual satisfaction results, but they have been very high from our clients. Our clients have given us very good feedback that they've been very satisfied through the program. As you said, American University is in the process of giving us proper full analysis of all kinds of things, but we have not gotten that information as of yet. However, we do two different assessments at pre and post. So we look at something called the SAFER, where we're looking and assessing how much risk different things in the home might pose to the person living in the house. So the OT analyzes that before the modifications and after the modifications. And on average, it's decreased about 50% of the risks, of the high risks that are there for the person living in the home. And we also do something called the Falls Efficacy Scale. So this is something about that the seniors filling out themselves, saying how fearful they are doing different things around their home. And we do that at the pre-assessment and the post. And again, we have about between a 50 and 60% decrease on that after the modifications have been completed. So those are some of the outcomes there: the decrease in fear of falling in the home and the decrease of observable risks in the home for them as well. And Alayna, I don't know if you had additional outcomes to share.
I don't. I think I was taking a look at what the satisfaction survey data was. So I could give you a little bit more clear information on that. We have 92% of our folks are completely satisfied with the program. We asked about everything from the OT visits to the contractor visits. So we're really proud of that. We think that, the work of the OTs is really strengthened by just having really great community partners and contractors, like working with Habitat, like being able to have those really solid, committed folks in place. And so, outcome-wise, I think that you can always do better until you're at 100%. But I think that we're really pleased with the overall satisfaction of the program, as well as with the impact that it makes with the people that we serve, right? How much safer they feel in their homes, how much more secure they feel around their risk for falls. So I think it's a great partnership and program.
So do we. You're both talking about the importance of falls, and for our listeners who may not have a lot of experience with elderly relatives or friends that are facing all of this, why is falling so vitally important?
Yes.
Or prevention of falling.
Right.
Why is it important to fall?
So
Alexa,
we work a lot on the mitigation of fall risk because it has such high stakes. So I think we spoke really early on a little bit. There's a very high percentage rate of older adults who fall it's between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 right now. It's changing a little bit right now, probably with some of the COVID changes with how people were living their lives during that time period. But there also are huge risks from the fall and kind of what the sequelae that can happen from a fall. So with fractures, head injuries, etc., from a fall can deeply impact whether somebody is able to stay in their living environment and their level of independence in their environment as well. And so preventing those falls can decrease the cost to the person, to their family, to their community, to their city. To try and be able to keep somebody in their home and not have falls is going to be a lot less expensive and promote independence for that person being able to stay in their home as independently as possible. Alayna, did you have more on that?
I'll just give you a couple of data points that I always raise when we're speaking to folks about the program and just in general about falls risk. 6 out of every 10 falls happens at home. So the home environment is really, can pose a lot of risks for people as they age or as their physical mobility declines. Another thing that I thought was really important for people to understand is 1 out of every 5 falls causes serious injury. That means we're looking at broken bones or head injury, right? So this is data from the CDC falls reports. There are over 800,000 patients a year who are hospitalized because of fall injury. So when we're talking about compounding factors that might lead to people having to go into institutional care, even if it's just for rehab, falls is a really big part of that. And it can be something that then kind of spirals. You'll hear people often say, oh, it all started with a fall. I had a fall, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then I never got to go home again. So really, trying to address that initial risk is, I think, something that it's important to educate about and to address.
Once again, our missions align so well in that fall prevention allows seniors to live with dignity and to stay in affordable home ownership. And we're both all about trying to serve the community and have people live to their full potential, their full with as much protection as possible, and again, to stay close to family and to stay in their neighborhoods and their communities. That means the world to many seniors. Again, you're talking about the alternative is institutionalization and even worse, homelessness, which we're all battling in every way we can. So we are very much in alignment with all of your efforts on promoting that independence and that much more productive stage of life. We only have a few minutes left, but let's talk a little bit about how residents in need of service can access your program.
Absolutely. So the Safe at Home program, like as we've mentioned, it's the DC Office on Aging program. If you have never been through the program before, or if you just want to get some general information, you can always contact the DC Office on Aging information and referral line. All referrals have to start there for very new clients, right? So that number is 202-724-5626. And if you are a big Google adherent like I am, you can always just Google DC Safe at Home, and that'll take you directly to the page. If you have just general questions, if you want to talk about the program, setting it up, brainstorming, looking for solutions, we are always available to talk to folks. I can be reached directly. I am in the office. Our OTs are typically out in the field. I can be reached directly on my line at 202-559-9954. And it's not unusual for us to get calls with novel questions that I then go to the OTs and ask for input or expertise on, something new that we hadn't thought of. And so it's incredibly beneficial to us as well when folks call with their questions, because I think we learn a little bit more and we problem solve a little bit better the more things we're exposed to.
you've talked a couple times about the importance of contacting the DC government. And again, you're a model, a national model, and I like to say our partnership is a national model. We are, again, working very hard with the other local governments in our service area to take a good look at your model and how we can all partner together to really help with the affordable housing crisis generally, but especially for seniors who can benefit so much from the work that you do. Are there any questions in the chat while we pull to a close here? Okay. I just want to remind everyone that this is Giving Tuesday, and you're listening to the partnership between two nonprofits. And there is a donate button on your screen. And again, we have some donors, and our board of directors have put up matching funds. And all of this will help all of us in achieving our mission that we've been talking about for the last half hour here. And we definitely need your help. Money is, without a doubt, the biggest constraint that all of us face on all of the programs that Habitat runs. And I know the program that you run, the funding can go up and down. I'd like to make a little appeal to the DC City Council and the mayor that your program is vital and that stable funding is important for all of us. So again, I hope we can communicate that successfully in the future to the other jurisdictions in our service area. So to close out, I just want to thank everyone for joining us. I especially want to thank Alexa and Alayna for going deeply into how our partnership works, how their organization works, and why it is such a critical program for a major slice of the affordable housing crisis. And I just want to thank both of you. We obviously very much enjoy working with you, and we hope to work with you well into the future and to grow our programs. Again, happy Giving Tuesday to all of you. And again, the donate button is there. Please take advantage of it. Your donation is doubled if you do so. And thank you so much, both of you. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.